Intro. The forgotten truth about fear. Fear was never the enemy. It was the oldest teacher of humankind. Long before we built cities or named emotions, fear kept us alive. It taught us when to run, when to fight, and when to pause long enough to understand the danger. But somewhere along the way, we started treating fear like a flaw, a defect to be cured instead of a compass to be read. The ancient warriors knew better. To them, fear was not weakness, it was awareness. It meant your body was awake, your spirit alert, your heart still cared about something worth protecting. The Spartans, the samurai, and the Stoic philosophers all trained not to silence fear but to listen to it. Because when you listen, fear tells you exactly where your courage is needed most. Today, we live in a world built for comfort, yet haunted by anxiety. We hide our fear behind busyness, screens, and smiles. But the truth remains, fear hasn't changed. Only our relationship with it has. We forgot how to stand still in its presence, how to breathe through it, how to act with it by our side instead of running from it. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If you are pained by any external thing, it is not this thing that disturbs you, but your own judgment about it." The ancients faced death every dawn and still found peace in the same breath. So maybe courage was never about becoming fearless, but about remembering how to feel fear wisely. Because courage and fear are not enemies, they are partners in the dance of growth. Fear points to the edge, courage steps beyond it, and somewhere in that small, trembling step forward, life truly begins. If this truth stirs something in you, subscribe to Legacy of Thinkers, where we bring back the ancient wisdom that still speaks to the modern soul. The lessons of Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus aren't lost, just waiting for you to remember. Chapter 1. They faced death every morning. Dawn for the ancients was not a pastel sky and coffee, it was a drumbeat. Armor buckled, leather straps pulled tight, the dry taste of metal on the tongue. Every sunrise asked the same question: are you willing to meet yourself today? Roman legionaries stood shoulder to shoulder, feeling the tremor of 1,000 sandaled feet. They did not wait for fear to vanish. They arranged themselves around it. A centurion walked the line, eyes steady, voice low. Hold the formation. Breathe with your shield. In that narrow space between inhale and exhale, courage was chosen, not discovered. Spartans learned early that the body shakes before the soul agrees. So they trained the shake. Cold mornings, empty stomachs, blisters in places no one sings about. Fear became a signal. You are near the edge, pay attention. And when the edge arrived, spears, dust, screaming, they had already rehearsed the silence inside. The Stoics called it premeditatio malorum. Imagine the blow before it lands. Not to suffer twice, but to walk in already awake. If death might come at noon, then gratitude must come at 9, and duty must be carried by 10. Marcus Aurelius would remind himself, the worst that can happen is the natural end, and the best that can happen is that I lived this hour well. We wonder how they did it. Truth is, they didn't chase bravery like a mood, they built it like a ritual. Tie the sandals, check the edge of the blade, say the prayer, or say nothing, but show up. Fear rode with them to the field and watched them work. And some nights, when the camp went quiet and the stars hung cold over the tents, a soldier would trace a scar and think, I met the morning. And the morning did not take me. Then he slept, not because danger was gone, but because he had answered the question. Tomorrow would ask it again, and he already knew his line. Chapter 2. The Training of the Mind. Before any sword was lifted, the mind had to be sharpened. Warriors understood that most battles were lost long before steel touched steel, inside the space between fear and focus. So they trained that invisible muscle, attention. A Stoic would begin the morning not with noise, but with stillness. He imagined everything that could go wrong: storms, betrayal, injury, death, not to invite suffering, but to prepare his soul to meet it calmly. This was premeditation, not pessimism. To expect difficulty was to disarm it. When the worst arrived, it felt familiar, almost manageable. Epictetus, once a slave, told his students, "You cannot control the world, only your judgment about it." So the Stoics practiced detachment, not from life, but from illusion, the illusion that control equals safety. They slept on hard floors, walked barefoot through cold mornings, and skipped meals to remind themselves that comfort is a guest, not a guarantee. Each discomfort became a lesson. Hunger teaches patience. Cold teaches resilience. Loss teaches gratitude. The training of the mind was not about punishment. It was about remembering how little one truly needs to stand tall. When fear crept in, they observed it like a bird passing through the sky. No chase, no resistance, just awareness. The goal wasn't to erase fear, but to understand its language. Because once you can see fear clearly, it can no longer command you. In the modern world, we lift weights for our bodies but neglect the muscle of perception. The ancients did the opposite. They trained to stay still while storms raged outside, and that stillness became their armor. For them, mastery wasn't domination. It was calm in motion, strength in silence, and clarity in the chaos that once terrified the untrained mind. Chapter 3: What we forgot about fear. We didn't forget how to be brave. We forgot what fear is for. We turned it into a verdict. If I'm afraid, I'm not ready. The ancients would shake their heads. To them, fear was a messenger, a flare in the night saying, "Here lies meaning. Proceed with care and courage." Modern life trained us to outsource courage to comfort. We pad our days with certainty, negotiate with risk, mute the alarms with noise. Yet anxiety climbs anyway, because silence outside doesn't quiet the storms inside. We scroll to numb the pulse that was built to warn and to guide. What have we forgotten? That fear narrows the beam so we can see the next true step. That fear is energy, raw, hot, directionless, waiting for aim. That fear is honest. It rarely lies about what matters to us. The ancients didn't chase fearlessness. They practiced fear literacy. They named its shapes: dread, caution, awe. They asked better questions. Is this a threat to my body? Or just to my pride? Is this pain? Or merely the discomfort of growth? And then they chose a response worthy of their principles. We can remember. When fear rises, breathe and label it. This is energy, not destiny. Turn the spotlight outward. What action aligns with my values in the next 5 minutes? Make a pact with the feeling. You can ride in the cart, but you don't get the reins. Courage is not the absence of trembling. It's movement with meaning while trembling. The hands still shake as the email is sent, as the apology is made, as the door is knocked on, as the truth is spoken. Every small act is a vote for the person you intend to be. What we forgot is simple and saving. Fear isn't a stop sign, it's a signpost. It doesn't say no entry. It says, enter awake, walk in with your eyes open, your breath steady, your values ahead of you like a standard in the wind. Then let fear take its proper place, behind you, where it can still be seen. but cannot steer. Outro. Remember what they knew. Fear was never the villain in the story of courage, it was the mirror. The ancients knew that looking into it didn't make you weaker, it made you honest. They faced storms, blades, and uncertainty with the same stillness we reserve for screens. And yet, we are the ones trembling, not them. Maybe we don't need a new philosophy. Maybe we just need to remember theirs. To stand where they once stood, in the middle of the unknown, and whisper to ourselves, I have been here before. Humanity has been here before, and we always found a way through. When you feel fear rise again, before a decision, a conversation, or a change, don't run from it. Let it remind you that your heart is awake. The only thing worse than fear is feeling nothing at all. Because fear means there is still something worth fighting for. Something you still care about deeply. The Stoics didn't seek easy lives. They sought clarity. The kind that comes when you stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what can I learn from this? That's the bridge between suffering and strength, between panic and peace. So, if this message speaks to something inside you, if you feel that quiet spark of recognition, that call to live wiser, calmer, braver, then don't let it fade when this video ends. Share this with someone who might need it today. Tell me in the comments, what fear are you learning to walk with? Leave a like to let the algorithm know that Stoic wisdom still matters. And most importantly, subscribe to Legacy of Thinkers, because ancient wisdom isn't old, it's eternal. And it's waiting for you to remember.